Vera Lynn died on her 17th wedding anniversary. While she was critically ill and unconscious, she heard her husband and son talking outside the ICU. Mr. Fu, after handling Mrs. Fu's funeral arrangements, will you rekindle your relationship with Miss Tan? You've silently loved Miss Tan for so many years, even supporting her studies in Vienna because of her poor family background. All these years, she hasn't married because of you. Axel Fu did not respond, but his son, Fu Yu, said firmly, "Dad, I support you in seeking your own happiness. Auntie Tan is the one you truly love. You've already missed out on most of your lives together. After seeing Mom off, you've fulfilled your duty. It's time to think about yourself." No one noticed that inside the hospital room, Vera Lynn shed a tear as the heart monitor flatlined. It wasn't until the moment of her death that she finally realized Axel Fu had always held Elchine in his heart. That's why he neglected her for a lifetime. After being reborn, she found herself back in the 4th year of her marriage to Axel Fu. She had a mischievous and adorable son, and her husband was the top business tycoon in the port area. At every dinner party, even the district chief would raise a toast to her, Mrs. Fu. But this time, on the very day Elchine returned to the country and got off the plane, she took the initiative to hand her the divorce papers. Elchine was astonished by the words she saw. "You want to divorce Axel?" Leaving with nothing, not even the child, she nodded calmly. "Axel Fu, I don't want him either. I'm leaving him to you. As long as you find a way to get him to sign this divorce agreement, it will take effect immediately." Elchine, however, scoffed at the idea. "What trick are you playing again? It's only been a few years since you married Axel, and you've already attempted suicide 3 times. Once by cutting your wrist, once by taking sleeping pills and pretending to jump off a building. And now you want to use me as a target." Vera Lynn smiled. She had long since tasted all the bitterness and neglect. In this lifetime, she would no longer seek death for his sake. "I am serious, and I will not go back on my word." Elchine's phone rang, and she unhesitatingly put it on speakerphone. You must have landed by now. I'm already waiting for you outside the airport. I specially had a whole truck of your favorite snow mountain roses airlifted from the Alps." Vera Lynn found the voice both familiar and unfamiliar, only because Axel Fu had never spoken such gentle words to her, nor did he remember what flowers she liked. Elchine coquettishly laughed. "Brother Axel, it's been 3 years since we last met, right? It's so sweet of you to still remember my preferences. Though it's been 3 years without seeing El, to me it feels like a day apart is like 3 autumns. My eyes and heart are filled with you." At that moment, Vera Lynn felt her heart suddenly tighten. So it wasn't that he was inarticulate, such touching words of affection came to him so effortlessly. In her previous life, she was married to Axel Fu for 17 years, yet he rarely came home. Everyone in their circle said that Vera Lynn was madly in love with Axel Fu, going so far as to climb into his bed and get pregnant to force him into marrying her, and that Axel Fu utterly despised her. But everyone forgot that she had accompanied Axel Fu from being a down-and-out illegitimate child to a business tycoon, standing by him for 20 years, even going so far as to use her billion-dollar fortune to fully support him. Later, when his first love and white moonlight, Elchine, returned to the country, he repeatedly abandoned her to meet El, using guilt as an excuse. Even his son, Fu Yu, prefers Elchine. "Mom is always so old-fashioned and boring, never smiles. Aunt Elchine dresses beautifully and doesn't embarrass Dad when they're together." But they didn't know that Vera Lynn was already suffering from depression at that time. At their 10th anniversary dinner, Axel Fu was asked by a reporter what he regretted the least in his life. Axel Fu pondered for a moment. "The one thing I regret the least is personally sending the love of my life to pursue her highest ideal in life." The outside world mocked her as someone who snatched another's place and paid her way in. Later, due to long-term repression and melancholy, Vera Lynn even developed cancer. As her thoughts returned to the present, Elchine had already hung up the phone, with a faint, ambiguous smile. "Did you hear that? No matter how futile your efforts are, it's meaningless. A man who doesn't love you is useless to keep. Of course, I have a way to make brother Axel sign this agreement. As long as you don't go back on your word." Standing in the airport's draft, Vera Lynn watched as Axel Fu and Fu Yu got out of the car. personally opening the entire trunk full of Snow Mountain roses. While Elchin was lifted and spun around by Axel Fu, the three of them chatted and laughed. As if they were the happy family of three, a dull pain throbbed in her chest as she trembled and dialed Axel Fu's number. "Axel, where are you? Are you coming home for dinner?" His tone remained cold on the other end. "I'm picking up Xiaoyu to have dinner at the company. I won't be back tonight." The call ended impatiently, leaving Vera Lynn to shed tears of self-mockery. This time, she was unwilling to waste her life any longer on someone who did not love her, since they both loved Elchin. She decided to let them be. Chapter 2. After deciding to leave, Vera Lynn slept until the sun was high in the sky. In the past, due to the strict rules of the wealthy family and the constraints of being a virtuous wife and mother, she had to wake up early every day to cook for the father and son herself, for 17 years without interruption. Axel Fu always complained that she was plain-faced and unkempt, but he didn't know that she, already depressed at the time, had exhausted all her strength just to accomplish these things. She glanced at the smart locks time display. Last night, Axel Fu and his son had stayed with Elchin until 12:30 before returning home. Axel Fu frowned when he saw her come out. "What's going on? You didn't pick Xiaoyu up from kindergarten yesterday, and today you're not even making meals," Vera Lynn retorted. "Where did you take Xiaoyu last night?" "A friend told me they saw you with Elchin." A hint of embarrassment flashed across Axel Fu's face. "Enough, I just happened to pick Elle up from the airport. She just returned to the country. With no family or friends, and nothing settled." She just chuckled lightly. Whether it was a coincidence or a carefully planned move, you know best in your heart. Unexpectedly, Axel Fu seemed to have been struck by a nerve. He suddenly grabbed her wrist, his voice icy cold. "How you climbed into my bed back then? How you snatched Elle's position? You know it best yourself. All I feel for Elle now is guilt. And I just want to make it up to her. What more do you want?" Vera Lynn's heart trembled. Back then, she had indeed been madly in love with Axel Fu. She even set aside her pride as a wealthy young lady and confessed her feelings to him multiple times. That night, when he was drugged by a rival, it was she who used her own body to help him counteract the effects. All these years, she was misunderstood as having deliberately seduced him, and Axel Fu held a grudge against her. "Did you ever investigate what happened back then? You clearly knew it was your rival, the High Group, who set you up. Yet all these years you've pinned the blame on me, making me endure all kinds of humiliation," she said word by word. Axel Fu didn't expect her to question him like this and was stunned for a moment. In his impression, Vera Lynn loved him so much that she never dared to utter a single word of defiance. "What's going on today?" At that moment, Fu Yu ran out of the room, crying and shouting, "Bad Mom, you promised to make French toast and creme brulee for me today, but there's nothing. Mom is not trustworthy at all. She can't compare to Auntie Tan. Mom is bad. I hate you. Dad, why can't we live with Auntie Tan?" Vera Lynn lowered her gaze, looking at this ungrateful child she had carried for 10 months, who was now completely devoted to someone else. She couldn't help but mock herself. It turned out that from such a young age, he was already just like his father, only liking Elchin. "Since you like Aunt Tan, go find her then." Vera Lynn smiled as she crouched down and patted Fu Yu's head. "Mom won't interfere with you anymore. Do whatever you want." As she spoke, she took a step back, not letting Fu Yu's swinging fists land on her. Axel Fu glared at her. "What's gotten into you today? You're not acting like Mrs. Fu at all." At that moment, the assistant called, "Mr. Fu. The onboarding process for Secretary Tan has been fully completed." Axel Fu's expression softened slightly. "Understood, I'll be at the company shortly." With that, he took Fu Yu's hand and left without looking back, not even sparing her a glance. She remembered in her previous life, in the 4th year of her marriage, which was after Elchin entered Axel Fu's company, the Fu Corporation faced a crisis due to financial loopholes. She used the entire huge inheritance left to her by her aunt to fill the company's funding gap. This time, she didn't want to make such a futile effort again. She also no longer wanted to be this Mrs. Fu. Chapter 3. After Axel Fu left, Vera Lynn gathered all the items in the house that were related to her. Since she intended to disappear completely, she decided not to leave a single trace for the father and son. The anniversary gifts Axel Fu had given her, diamond necklaces, handbags, were all sent to the pawn shop, and the companion bear she had bought for her son had long been buried at the bottom of a box. She used to comfort Fuyu with this little bear over and over again when he was young. Be a good boy, and go to sleep, don't be afraid, look. The little bear will stay with you in place of mommy. Now it has accumulated a lot of dust, and it has been replaced by the rabbit that Elchin gave him, placed at the head of the bed. She packed it all up and sent it to the waste incineration station. Along with the affections that have been replaced and forgotten over the years, they all turned to ashes and vanished. After finishing these tasks, she received a call from a trust institution in Paris. Miss Lin, do you confirm inheriting all of Ms. Chen's estate, which will take effect in 7 days and be merged into your account? I'm sure. After hanging up the phone, Vera Lin glanced over the now empty wardrobe and packed the remaining luggage. She decided to move out today to make room for Axel Fu and Elchin. Just as she finished packing, she received a message from Elchin. I've managed to get Axel to sign the divorce agreement. Come pick it up at the Diamond Room of the Nightfall Club. When Vera Lin arrived outside the room, she didn't push the door open. It seemed to have been left slightly ajar just for her. The people inside are playing Truth or Dare. Brother Fu, it's been so many years since you and Elchin broke up. Do you still like her, now that you've brought her into the company? Are you trying to start an office romance? Come on, tell us. The guys are all waiting. If you can't say it, the man deliberately drew out his words, picked up a full, unopened bottle of Johnny Walker Blue Label, and slammed it heavily in front of Axel Fu. Down it. The sound of jeering filled the air, and Elchin laughed, trying to change the subject. Don't give Axel a hard time, I'll drink for him. She picked up a bottle of strong liquor and was about to drink it for him when Axel Fu snatched it away with a dark expression. Put it down. His tone brooked no argument. You're not feeling well these days and can't drink, so I'll drink for you. Oh. Elchin's cheeks instantly flushed red. Axel, as he downed an entire bottle of strong liquor, the private room was filled with constant screams and sighs. And Axel Fu's neck flushed red after the heavy drinking. Vera Lin clung desperately to the doorframe, feeling her vision grow increasingly blurry. Axel Fu had developed a chronic stomach condition from years of social engagements, and it was she who had diligently prepared stomach-nourishing porridge for him day after day, carefully tending to his health. Yet, in the face of protecting the woman he loved, all of this seemed utterly insignificant. She had never minded his past. But it turned out he had never let go of it. Axel Fu's heart never once, purely and solely, paused for her. She took the divorce agreement handed to her by the waiter, already signed with Axel Fu's name. She suddenly realized that this was a well-planned drama orchestrated by Elchin. Returning to that cold, lifeless home, Vera Lin was dragging away the last small suitcase. Axel Fu returned reeking of alcohol. Fumbling to pick up the water glass on the table and taking the stomach medicine she had prepared for him, he stepped into the bedroom, his gaze instantly fixed on the completely empty corners, the walk-in closet, the vanity, even the child's door was wide open, revealing an unusually tidy bed inside. Axel Fu's pupils widened in shock as he strode forward and grabbed her wrist fiercely. Vera Lin, I just gave Elchin a ride, and now you want to separate from me. The sharp pain in her wrist made Vera Lin gasp. She coldly pulled her hand back and stared at him. It seemed Axel Fu still didn't know that he had unknowingly signed the divorce papers. This way, it avoids any further entanglement. That's just as well. Vera Lin chuckled lightly. You have your lover, and you can acknowledge her place even in front of outsiders. So what does that make me? Axel Fu, starting today, I won't be serving you and your son anymore. Axel Fu suddenly sneered, as if seeing right through her. What kind of push-and-pull game are you playing now? Cutting your wrist? Taking pills? Do you still think you haven't caused enough trouble? Have I been spoiling you too much all these years, since you don't want to be Mrs. Fu? I'll grant your wish. Starting tomorrow, I'll bring Elle over. This place should have been hers all along. Every word felt like a poison-tipped steel needle piercing her heart. In her past life, after marrying Axel Fu, she realized his indifference and repeatedly resorted to harming herself just to get his attention. Now she finally understood, when someone doesn't love you, no matter how much you struggle, the only one you ever hurt is yourself. At this moment, Fu Fu Yu, who had just been picked up by the nanny, clapped his hands with joy. Yay, Daddy is going to bring Aunt Tan to live with us. I like Aunt Tan the most. The little bunny Abebe that Auntie gave me has always been by my bedside. I also want to prepare a gift for Aunt Tan. Vera Lynn said nothing, resolutely pushed the door open, without a trace of attachment. When I looked up, I realized tears had already silently fallen. Axel Fu Yu, don't worry, from now on, she would no longer be in their way. Chapter 4, the next day. Axel Fu personally drove to pick up El Chin. Fu Yu seemed particularly excited, hugging El Chin's waist tightly, brimming with exhilaration. Dad, will Aunt Tan become my new mom? El Chin instantly blushed, gently tapping the tip of his nose. Xiao Yu, do you really want me to be your mom that much? But that depends on your dad, she feigned concern. Did you and Sister Vera have another argument? I hope nothing serious happened. She's used to making a scene. Once she's had enough, she'll come back on her own. Axel Fu frowned. He didn't know why, but even though he was fully aware that Vera Lynn was being unreasonable again, he felt inexplicably uneasy. Even if he didn't love Vera Lynn, the position of Mrs. Fu and the role of Xiao Yu's mother seemed to belong only to her. Starting today, Aunt Tan will be staying with us temporarily to take care of you. As soon as he finished speaking, Fu Yu happily threw himself into El Chin's arms and gave her a loud kiss on the cheek. Auntie Tan, you're 100 times better than my mom. I will definitely make you my real mom. The three of them entered the house chatting and laughing. While at the same time, Vera Lynn arrived at the company. As a finance master's graduate from the University of Pennsylvania, she had been managing Axel Fu's business affairs without compensation. Today, she came to the company to complete the handover work and also settled her due wages with the finance department. As she stepped out of the office, she saw downstairs that the driver was bringing the father and son along with El Chin. Axel Fu's arm rested lightly around El Chin's waist, while Fu Yu's small hand tightly clutched the hem of her skirt. The three of them walked with purpose, their laughter piercing through the hallway. Mom, Dad said you'll read me bedtime stories every day from now on. You're so much better at it than my mom. Axel Fu did not argue, only instructed the driver to take him. Be good. Xiao Yu, listen to your teacher when you go to kindergarten later. Then, they walked into the company hand in hand, inseparable and oblivious to everyone around them. As their eyes met, the atmosphere instantly froze to an icy chill. El Chin immediately let go with good sense. Oh, why has Mrs. Fu come today? I heard you weren't feeling well and have been resting for several days. Seeing Vera Lynn holding a box, she covered her mouth with a light laugh and deliberately poured a cup of hot tea to hand to her. As she approached Vera Lynn, she suddenly stumbled underfoot. Ah, the scalding hot tea in her hand splashed all over her own arm, and the sound of the porcelain cup shattering exploded. Axel Fu abruptly pulled her into his arms, yet his gaze was as sharp as a blade, cutting toward Vera Lynn. Are you insane? Did you deliberately trip El? Vera Lynn froze in place. Before she could even speak, El Chin was already sobbing with reddened eyes. Don't blame Sister Vera. It's my own fault for being so clumsy and not holding it steady. The scorched red forearm was carefully cradled by Axel Fu, his eyes brimming with pain and tenderness. Apologize. Axel Fu's voice rang out with authority. The entire office floor held its breath. Vera Lynn stared at him, wondering if he couldn't see through such a clumsy trick, or if he simply didn't want to see it. He only wanted to believe what he was willing to believe. Axel Fu, her voice was icy. Take a good look. I'm at least 3 steps away from her. Making excuses, Axel Fu suddenly sneered in front of everyone in the office building. All these days, you've ignored Xiao Yu completely, and now you don't even have the tolerance to let things go. He loosened his tie, as if trying to strangle his rising emotions. El Chin is just staying temporarily to take care of the child. Do you have to make such a scene that everyone knows? Taking care of the child? Vera Lynn sneered, her gaze sweeping over El Chin, who was pretending to be delicate, teaching him to call his father's lover mom. As soon as the words were spoken, the colleagues watching immediately began whispering among themselves. President Fu is really good to this Secretary Tan, even better than he is to his wife. You don't understand. A wife is not as good as a mistress is not as good as a secret affair. Men always crave something fresh and passionate. The main wife has lost so miserably. At that moment, El-Chin suddenly broke free from Axel Fu, stumbled, and grabbed a piece of broken porcelain from the ground. Pressing it hard into her palm, "Brother Axel, please don't blame sister, it's all my fault," blood seeped through her fingers, while on the other side, Axel Fu's slap had already landed on Vera Lynn's face. "How much longer are you going to keep this up?" Amid the burning sting, Vera Lynn's hand uncontrollably pressed down on the shattered porcelain pieces on the floor. Blood dripped onto the resignation agreement, blooming into a dark crimson flower. Vera Lynn bent down to pick up the blood-stained paper, then straightened her back amidst the dead silence in the room. "Axel Fu," she laughed through her tears. "You know what? Just now, watching from upstairs, you all seemed more like a family than I ever did." Chapter 5. Axel Fu frowned deeply, staring at her as if she were incomprehensible. "Are you insane? Do you even know what nonsense you're spouting?" Immediately, a colleague stepped in to defuse the situation, taking both Vera Lynn and El-Chin to the changing room. The moment the door lock clicked, El-Chin suddenly burst into mocking laughter. "I thought Axel would at least consider your past as a couple and trust you a bit, but it turns out it was so fragile. Just admit defeat, Vera Lynn. You can't win against me." Vera Lynn just curled her lips slightly. "Axel Fu and I are already divorced. Everything you want will soon be yours," she thought to herself. When the Fu Corporation is on the verge of bankruptcy due to El-Chin's mistakes, would she still be so devoted to Axel Fu then? She was looking forward to that day. El-Chin hadn't expected her calmness and sneered as she crossed her arms. "Vera Lynn, you will soon realize how foolish and ridiculous these things you're doing to get Axel's attention are, and I will make you step down voluntarily. Openly and legitimately taking your place." Vera Lynn nodded faintly. "All right, I'll be waiting." El-Chin had no idea that she had long since given up on Axel Fu. Her so-called ambitious struggle, to her, was like watching a play that had long ended and had nothing to do with her. That night, Vera Lynn lay in her rented apartment and slept a full night's sleep until dawn for the first time. She had a very long dream. She dreamed of the first time she met Axel Fu, back when they were students. And she was being bullied by a group of delinquent girls. It was Axel Fu who stepped forward to stop the violence for her, and he considerately took her to the infirmary, personally disinfecting and applying medicine to her wounds. After that, she followed Axel Fu like a shadow, until he finally couldn't help but turn around and ask her, "Why do you always follow me?" She timidly handed him $100. "I don't have anything else, only money. Those people bullied me just to take my pocket money. Can I pay you protection fees?" Axel Fu smiled helplessly, and from then on, Ishigo was with her for 4 years. After entering the international high school, she heard that he had started a relationship, and that person was none other than the school belle El-Chin. She could only quietly suppress her feelings. Later, she heard they had broken up, and by chance, Vera Lynn ended up marrying him. At first, she was overjoyed. She thought her years of unrequited love had finally come true, but she didn't know it was the beginning of a lifetime of tragedy. The violent knocking at the door snapped her thoughts back to reality. Axel Fu kicked the door open, stepped forward, and tightened his grip on her wrist, his eyes piercingly cold. "Elle attempted suicide by cutting her wrist last night. What did you say to her?" Vera Lynn was suddenly stunned. She never expected that El-Chin would use this method to frame her. In the hospital ward, El-Chin lay weakly on the bed, her wrist wrapped in gauze, crying as if drenched in pear blossoms and rain. "Brother Axel, Sister Vera said I'm a shameless, disgraceful mistress, but there's nothing between us. Perhaps only my death can silence those rumors." Vera Lynn looked up and met a pair of icy cold eyes, causing her to tremble all over. There was even a hint of murderous intent in that gaze, the same determination you used to force me into marriage. "You're now using to torment an innocent person, Vera Lynn. You truly disgust me. I will make you understand that harming Elle comes with a price." Axel Fu's thin lips moved as if he had more to say, but he was called away by the doctor. Only Vera Lynn and El-Chin remained in the hospital room. El-Chin could no longer keep up the act and broke into a smile through her tears. "See, a man who truly cares about me would be deeply concerned, but when you cut your wrist, he just thinks you're being unreasonable. So, what makes you think you can compare to me?" Vera Lynn's heart ached sharply. yet she remained composed, harming myself for a man. Such foolishness is something I've long since stopped doing. But you're right about one thing, a man who doesn't love me is useless to keep. No matter how hard I try, so why would I go back to pick up the trash I've already thrown away? As she stepped out of the hospital, under the scorching sun, she realized her hands were trembling uncontrollably. I had already decided to leave, so why does my heart still ache for him? Chapter 6. 2 days later, she received a text message notifying her that her aunt's 10 billion inheritance had been fully transferred to her account. It wouldn't be long before she finished handling all her affairs and left. On her way back to the apartment, as the night grew darker, someone suddenly darted out of an alley and covered her mouth and nose. The pungent smell of medicine flooded her nostrils, and Vera Lynn quickly lost consciousness. By the time she woke again, she was already tied up in an abandoned factory. Her eyes were covered with a black cloth, and the rough rope dug deeply into her wrists. Her body was stiff and cold, and the claustrophobic sensation of impending death washed over her. Who are you? What do you want? What's the matter? The blame lies in you provoking someone you shouldn't have, Mr. Fu wants me to teach you a lesson and make you behave. The man sneered, and then, slaps and punches rained down on her face, abdomen, and all over her limbs. Vera Lynn felt as if all the blood in her body had frozen and rushed to her head. It was Axel Fu. He mistakenly believed she had caused El Chin's wrist-cutting incident and had specifically sent someone to humiliate her. Slap, slap. The sound of crisp slaps and sobs echoed out, but in this desolate factory, her cries for help would only dissipate into the air. President Fu, the person you asked me to deal with has been taken care of. Should we just leave her here? The voice on the other end was both familiar and cold. Take her to the hospital. For full hours of torment left her covered in wounds, fainting multiple times only to be revived by splashes of ice-cold water, so much so that she could no longer tell whether the stinging on her face was from the cold water or her tears. The young man who had once saved her from bullies had ultimately become the demon inflicting the violence. In the end, she was wrong about this love. Terribly, terribly wrong. When she opened her eyes again, the white ceiling of the hospital came into view, and the smell of disinfectant filled her nostrils. Ms. Lynn, you're finally awake. You have no idea. You lost a lot of blood and were unconscious for a full day and night. The nurse's call made her open her eyes, and from the corridor outside, the voices of a few young nurses discussing could be heard. That man is really handsome, and he's so gentle with his wife. Yeah, that patient just had a small cut on her wrist, and her husband was so nervous about it. Meanwhile, the one in room 403 is covered in injuries, and no one has come to visit. She struggled to stand up, leaning on the corridor railing, and walked to the door of the next room. In her line of sight, Axel Fu was standing by El Chin's bedside with Fu Yu, who was holding a large bouquet of Snow Mountain roses and sweetly calling out to her, "Mom, this is the Snow Mountain rose that Xiao Yu personally picked for you. It's your favorite pink color. You must get better soon. I've already sent someone to teach a lesson to the person who hurt you. From now on, no one will dare to bully you. Please, never do anything to harm yourself again." Her husband, holding El Chin's hand at this moment, was heartbroken. Her son, standing on tiptoe, kissed El Chin's cheek. The three of them were filled with joy and harmony. Vera Lynn suddenly felt as if a blunt knife were cutting into her flesh, piece by piece, gnawing away at her heart. She remembered the day Fu Yu was born. It was a winter night. Axel Fu was busy in a meeting and didn't answer the phone, so she had to take a taxi to the hospital in the heavy snow. During childbirth, she suffered a major hemorrhage. With no family, her parents had passed away in a car accident. Axel Fu was her only support. Everyone was anxiously waiting for Axel Fu to come and sign, but he only appeared at the last moment. "Don't let her die, please." He coldly dropped this sentence and turned back to the company. Now, it's a similar scene once again. She lifted her head and told herself not to cry, because in this world, no one but herself would truly care for her. Trembling, she took out her phone and sent a voice message to Axel Fu, word by word. "Axel Fu, let's have a proper talk." Chapter 7. Cafe. "You want a divorce with me?" Axel Fu's pupils contracted sharply, his gaze fixed tightly on Vera Lynn before him, as if he could no longer see her clearly. After 4 years of marriage, she had been almost like a tame cat, obedient to his every wish. Don't forget, it was you who insisted on marrying me. The position of Mrs. Fu was also something you forced your way into. Now, I don't want to force anything anymore, she interrupted him, her gaze indifferent. For the rest of my life, I only want to spend it with the right person, if there isn't one. I'd rather be alone, that's what you told me back then. Now, I'm letting you go pursue Elchin, she chuckled softly. You love her so much, shouldn't you give her a proper status? Axel Fu's face suddenly turned grim. Fu Yu, who was eating strawberry mousse nearby, also pouted. Mom, what are you arguing with Dad about again? Aunt Tan is just helping take care of me. She cooks for me and Dad, and it's really delicious. You should learn from her. Mom, Vera Lynn said calmly, it's okay. From now on, you won't have to eat the meals I cook anymore, because I am no longer your mother, nor will I be Mrs. Fu, she said in her heart. Tomorrow at 9 in the morning. I'll be waiting for you at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. As soon as she finished speaking, Axel Fu's phone rang. Sure enough, upon hearing the ringtone, he quickly moved away from Vera Lynn and stood aside. Vera Lynn heard a faint, almost imperceptible coquettish tone. Then, he hurriedly said to her, I have something to attend to at the company today, so I'll take Xiaoyu and leave first. If there's anything, we can talk about it at home, as Mrs. Fu. It's really unbecoming for you to keep renting a place to live. His lie was clumsy, but she no longer had the desire to expose it. She looked at the one big and one small figure waiting for her nod, smiled softly, and nodded. All right, be careful on the way. Axel Fu immediately breathed a sigh of relief, took Fu Yu's hand, and stood up. But after only a few steps, Vera Lynn's voice suddenly came from behind them. Axel Fu, Fu Yu. The father and son instinctively stopped in their tracks and turned to look at her. Keep moving forward, don't look back. I just wanted to say one thing to you both. Goodbye, she emphasized the last two words, but Axel Fu didn't catch it. After he left, Vera Lynn used an anonymous account to notify Elchin. Be at the Civil Affairs Bureau at 9 o'clock tomorrow. There's a surprise waiting for you. She will get everything she wants, and so will Axel Fu and his son. What could possibly be left unfulfilled? That night, Axel Fu tossed and turned, unable to sleep. He looked at Fu Yu sleeping beside him and felt inexplicably restless and uneasy. At the first light of dawn the next day, he got up immediately, only to find that he couldn't get through to Vera Lynn on the phone. Suddenly, he remembered that Vera Lynn had asked him to meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce the day before. A wave of panic washed over him, and he rushed to the Civil Affairs Bureau before 9 o'clock. Is she serious this time? Sir, your identity information shows that you are already divorced. The staff's astonished words struck like a bolt from the blue. Axel Fu felt a buzzing in his head. He's already divorced? How is that possible? Sorry, Mr. Fu, our records show that you signed the divorce agreement 7 days ago. Ms. Lin chose to leave with nothing. Both the assets and the custody of the child are yours. Meanwhile, Elchin was on her way over. While Vera Lynn had already boarded a flight to Paris, the morning glow outside the window faded with the morning mist, and the rising sun illuminated the world with clarity. Vera Lynn leaned against the window, closing her eyes in relief. In this lifetime, she would no longer compromise for anyone. For the rest of her life, she would love only herself and never see Axel Fu and his son again. Chapter 8. Axel Fu clutched the copy of the divorce agreement handed to him by the staff, his eyes filled with disbelief. He repeatedly checked the handwritten signature. It was indeed his handwriting. The date on the signature was actually 7 days ago. Impossible. When did I sign this? His mind suddenly flashed back to that night in the private room. When Elchin handed him the relationship agreement amid the crowd's teasing, she laughed and comforted herself, saying, Brother Axel, back when we were dating, we had nothing. You promised to do 100 things for me. Do you dare to fulfill that promise now? He never expected that. In his drunken haze, what he had scribbled was actually the divorce agreement Elchin had coaxed him into signing. Vera Lynn wanted a divorce, and she had planned it long ago. At this moment, Elchin had already rushed to the Civil Affairs Bureau and spotted Axel Fu waiting for her from a distance. She curled her lips smugly. He really was planning to surprise her. Luckily, she had bought this white shirt in advance. Brother Axel. Elchin affectionately and naturally stepped forward, linking her arm with his, slightly lowering her head in shyness, her voice brimming with excitement. I didn't expect you to hide such a big surprise for me, and even went out of your way to send me a text from an anonymous number. Brother Axel, you really put a lot of thought into this. Axel Fu hadn't yet recovered from the immense shock, his neck turning stiffly. He looked bewildered and puzzled. What text message? The smile on Elchin's face faded, instantly replaced by a sense of unease, an inexplicable panic stirring in her heart. Of course, it was you who sent it to me. She hurriedly took out her phone from her bag and held the message in front of him. Axel, look, who else but you would send me a message like this? She observed Axel Fu's expression, trying to detect any trace of acting on his face. Fu Jing frowned, his expression suddenly turning as dark as ink, his tone abruptly fierce. This wasn't sent by me. Belatedly realizing, a wave of inexplicable panic struck him. He reached out and gripped Elchin's shoulders tightly, his gaze icy as he questioned her. Where is Vera? Where is she? Where have you tricked her into going? Elchin pushed him away with a hint of pain, her eyes filled with surprise. Axel, what are you talking about? I don't understand a word of it. Seeing that he remained unmoved, a mist of tears welled up in Elchin's eyes. Brother Axel, you're hurting me. Then, she put on a pitiful expression and retorted unwillingly, wasn't it you who wanted to marry me? You and Vera Lynn are clearly already divorced. Axel Fu reacted like a provoked lion, his gaze turning fierce, his grip tightening, and his voice involuntarily rising. Who said I would divorce Vera? How do you know? His eyes were like daggers, making Elchin shiver involuntarily. Having been by Axel Fu's side as his first love, basking in his favor for so long, I almost forgot that he is the crown prince of the harbor district, unquestionable and capable of making someone vanish overnight. Seeing Elchin like this, he realized he wouldn't get the answer he wanted and angrily pushed her away. So, Axel Fu turned and rushed out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, frantically dialing Vera Lynn's number. But the cold shutdown prompt from the receiver felt like a torturous blade. Hello, the number you have dialed is turned off. Despite trying every possible method, he couldn't reach her. He became somewhat dejected, his eyes filled with lifelessness. How could he not be able to contact Vera? She usually replied to his messages instantly, so why hadn't she answered the phone for so long this time? Could she really not want him anymore? Impossible. Vera Lynn clearly loved him deeply. Loved him to the core. She must be angry about letting Elchin move into the house. As long as he coaxes her again, she will surely come back to his side, just like before. So, Axel Fu called his assistant, his eyes bloodshot as he roared, check the information on all high-speed rail stations and airports immediately. You must find out Vera Lynn's whereabouts for me. The assistant was startled by the shout and immediately realized the seriousness of the matter, responding meekly, all right. President Fu, I'll get on it right away. Axel Fu collapsed to the ground, his head almost splitting with pain. All these years, he never imagined that one day, Vera Lynn would leave him. She had long become his shadow, inseparable, bound together in life and death. And he had long grown accustomed to a life with her. She was always so thoughtful and meticulous, taking care of his and Xiao Yu's lives in perfect order, even though he had always been cold and indifferent to her over the years. She would still tirelessly share the trivialities of her daily life with him every day. Even if he encounters frustrations at work and takes his anger out on her, she will still be like a little son, continuing to cling to him, coaxing him while sharing his worries. He dares not imagine what life would be like without her, whether his days would become miserable and that home would turn lifeless. He believed that only death could part them, even 100 years later. They would still share the same grave. However, what right did she have to silently withdraw from his world without even asking for his opinion? No. Chapter 9. The overwhelming thoughts made Axel Fu's head ache unbearably, and Elchin gently placed a hand on his arm. Axel, your wife always defies you. Didn't you say you were tired of her long ago, that this marriage is nothing but a shackle to you, and that the only one you love is me? Didn't you promise to divorce her and marry me? Unexpectedly, he stepped back coldly as if startled, and seemed provoked. I never said I would divorce and marry you. Xiao Yu likes you and calls you mom, But it's just an innocent joke. Don't think that makes you the lady of the Fu family. Chin's expression on her face completely froze. Then, as if remembering something, she tremblingly took out that love agreement from her hand. Axel, look, it's written in black and white. That day, you clearly promised to do 100 things for me. You said you would never go back on your word. Her eyes reddened. Axel Fu narrowed his eyes. So, this was the title page of the divorce agreement she had tricked him into signing when he was drunk that day. The first thing is to watch a movie with the one you love. The second thing is to watch a sunrise over the sea of clouds and a sunset by the beach with her. The third thing is to chase the northern lights together. The fourth thing is to personally cook a candlelit dinner for her. The fifth thing, go skydiving together. The 100th thing, give her a grand century wedding. All these little things, the subtle details of a relationship, he had never done with Vera Lynn, yet he promised another woman to complete them together. At this moment, Axel Fu's face flushed and then paled. Unsure whether he was trying to persuade her or cover up his own feelings. Enough, Axel Fu interrupted sharply, his voice hoarse like the roar of a trapped beast. Who told you that you could casually speculate about my thoughts? Do you think my marriage is something you can decide? Compensation does not mean I allow you to take her place. Who gave you the audacity to make presumptuous decisions on my behalf? His gaze was fierce as he roughly brushed away Chin's attempt to cling to him again. Chin's lips trembled slightly. She couldn't understand why the man who was usually so tender and affectionate toward her, who had even supported her with 5 million a year while she was studying abroad, would suddenly change the moment Vera Lynn was mentioned. Axel, you're not in the right state of mind right now. Let's talk about something as important as marriage when you're thinking clearly, Chin said cautiously, picking up her bag and quickly leaving the troubled situation. Coincidentally, a newlywed couple passed by joyfully, which stung Axel Fu's eyes. He remembered that when he and Vera Lynn had registered their marriage, they had nothing. He hadn't even worn a white shirt, but rather a black suit. In that wedding photo, her shy closeness and his deliberately evasive coldness had become a permanent freeze frame. He despised her, hated her for 4 years, and even begrudged her a wedding, all while complacently accepting all her gentle efforts to please him. But she really left, and he began to panic. Sir, this is a public facility. Please do not get overly emotional. 2 staff members stepped forward to try to persuade him, but they were interrupted by Axel Fu's roar, "Get out!" A tremendous sense of panic and loss of control seized him. His heart pounded wildly, and a sense of foreboding grew stronger and stronger. At that moment, a news report came through on the large screen at the Civil Affairs Bureau. It is reported that a passenger plane that took off this morning has crashed in the South China Sea. Rescue efforts are underway, but the black box of the crashed aircraft has not yet been found. Axel Fu's pupils suddenly contracted. Before he could react, his assistant rushed over, his face deathly pale. "Mr. Fu, we've found Mrs. Fu's departure information. That flight was a private jet she chartered. But this morning, it crashed in the South China Sea." Chapter 10. Axel Fu's eyes shifted from shock to a gradual collapse, then utter devastation. Almost at the same moment, he grabbed his assistant by the collar. "What nonsense are you talking?" His voice was hoarse beyond recognition, his eyes filled with disbelief. The assistant nervously handed over the tablet, the screen displaying the urgent news of a missing flight. "That flight the madam was on is a private jet. It lost contact after entering the South China Sea. The aviation authority strongly suspects it crashed into the sea." Axel Fu stared at the flight number, then suddenly raised his hand and slammed the tablet against the wall. The sharp sound of shattering made the assistant jump back 2 steps in fright. "Find out the truth." As he turned around, his eyes were already bloodshot. "Alive or dead?" The words cut off abruptly. Axel Fu's Adam's apple bobbed violently. As if he dared not utter those words, the assistant asked fearfully, "Mr. Fu, didn't you promise the young master that you would take him and Miss Tan out for dinner?" Axel Fu seemed to be suddenly stung. As he strode toward the door, his right shoulder slammed hard against the doorframe. But he felt no pain and continued rushing out. Behind him echoed his furious roar, "Get the helicopter ready immediately. Contact the South China Sea Rescue Team. I'm heading there right now. We must find Vera at all costs." The assistant watched as this usually elegant and restrained man slammed his fist against the glass window of the door. The spiderweb cracks reflected his out-of-control expression, frightening several staff members into turning pale. How could he possibly be indifferent to the only wife he had ever had in his life? Axel Fu had not gone to the company for 2 full days. Instead, using every possible means to send people to search for the whereabouts of the crashed plane, every day, he anxiously awaited news, and even though he did not believe in gods or spirits, he silently prayed in his heart for the deities to protect Vera Lynn and keep her safe. Unfortunately, every piece of news that came back yielded no results. He had barely closed his eyes for 2 days and 2 nights, and his entire being had become utterly disheveled. In the early morning, Axel Fu dragged his exhausted body and returned home utterly drained. He raised his hand to rub his temples and saw Xiao Yu rushing into his arms, sobbing and crying. "Daddy, why haven't you and Mommy come home? Where did you go? I was so scared all by myself, without Mommy. I couldn't fall asleep without a bedtime story. Wah, Daddy, I keep having nightmares, dreaming that Mommy is gone and doesn't want me anymore. I couldn't find her no matter how hard I tried. I called Aunt Tan. But she said that once Dad sobers up, he'll definitely regret it and come looking for her on his own." Axel Fu bent down and hugged Xiao Yu tightly in his arms, his voice hoarse. "Xiao Yu, be good. Mom accidentally got lost and can't find her way home. Dad has gone to look for her." Xiao Yu is already a brave little man now. "It's going to be tough for a while, but you'll have to get used to taking care of yourself on your own. Okay, when Dad finds Mom, everything will be just like before." Xiao Yu's sobbing suddenly paused, then she cried even louder. "Dad, could it be that my nightmare came true? Did Mom really abandon us?" Axel Fu frowned deeply, feeling a sudden pang of pain in his heart. "Xiao Yu, have you forgotten? Mom told you, dreams are the opposite of reality. Besides, Mom loves us so much. She loves our family. How could she possibly abandon us?" These words seemed as much for Xiao Yu as they were for himself. As if only by constantly reinforcing this belief could he keep from losing his drive and hope. Chapter 11. Xiao Yu looked up at him, her face streaked with tears. "Really, Dad?" Axel Fu nodded. "So, Xiao Yu, you need to eat and sleep on time, otherwise, when Mom comes back and sees you've lost weight, she'll worry again." Xiao Yu nodded obediently and turned back to her room. Axel Fu discovered that everything related to Vera Lynn in the house had been completely cleared out. When his gaze fell upon the footprint of Xiao Yu at birth on the TV cabinet, he couldn't help but recall that day, back when Vera Lynn was giving birth. Not only did she have to switch from a natural delivery to a C-section due to her pelvic conditions, but she also suffered a massive hemorrhage during the cesarean because of her low platelet count. He saw the constant transfer of blood from the blood bank without any worry. Even with a terrifying calmness, he just coldly said, "Don't let her die." Even the postpartum confinement was done at home, with only 2 experienced top-tier maternity nurses hired to take care of her, while another was responsible for looking after Xiao Yu. At that time, Vera cautiously told him that the maternity nurses were not attentive to her. He merely looked at her with disgust, finding her overly dramatic, and paid her no attention. He paid no attention to her or the child, only showing various forms of disdain. Even the C-section wound, due to lack of proper care, had to be debrided 3 times. Slap. The crisp sound of a slap echoed loudly in the silent villa. Axel Fu suddenly raised his hand and slapped himself hard, cursing himself under his breath. A woman who had risked her life for him, and he could remain so indifferent. He truly was not a qualified husband or father. His cheeks burned with shame, for even the name he had given Xiao Yu was one he and El Chin had once dreamed of together. "In my memory," she smiled charmingly. "Axel, if we have a girl, let's name her Fu J, and if it's a boy, call him Fu Y. This is the love you've given me. What do you think?" Axel Fu struggled to hold back his emotions as he discovered a dusty photo album under the bookshelf in the study. It was a family diary recorded by Vera Lynn. May 20th. The weather is clear. Today marks the 7th year since Axel and I registered our marriage. People often talk about the 7-year itch, but it seems we haven't experienced it. We're still a happy family of 3. What's more, we finally got to go camping as a family of 3 today. We enjoyed a small barbecue by the mountains and water, but Axel still seemed quite unhappy. maybe he's troubled by something at work. I told Xiao Yu that we should give Dad a surprise. In the evening, gazing at the starry sky with the chirping of insects in the background, Xiao Yu and I quietly took out the prepared sparklers and pulled Axel along to play. It was clear that he became much happier. Indeed, I still know best how to make him happy. November 28th, cloudy weather. I remember a few days ago, while watching a TV drama in the living room, I saw the beautiful scene of snow falling all around and couldn't help but exclaim how much I wanted to go skiing. Then Xiao Yu also clamored, saying he wanted to go too. Hey, I didn't expect Axel to take it to heart. Today, the three of us made a surprise trip to the snowy mountains. Watching Axel teach Xiao Yu how to ski, I often feel so lucky and so happy. August 8th, sunny weather. Today, Elchin returned to the country, and Axel seems to have become different from before. I've never seen him this happy. September 26th, overcast turning to cloudy. It was clearly Elchin who deliberately framed me and splashed water on herself. So why did he accuse me in front of the entire company? I am his rightful wife. Shouldn't he be defending me? September 27th, sunny. Today, Axel said that Elchin attempted suicide by cutting her wrist last night, all because I provoked her with my words, which made her lose the will to live. But clearly, I did nothing, said nothing. Why did the boy who once saved me ultimately become the evil dragon he despised the most? After who knows how long, Axel Fu looked up in a daze, only to realize his face was already soaked with tears. At the end of the diary was an entry she had left 7 days ago. He trembled as he opened it. Beginning at the start of summer, ending at the end of summer, the story of time between you and me is now completely severed. It turned out that she had long since made up her mind to leave him. Chapter 12. The moment Vera Lynn boarded the private jet, she instinctively pressed her hand to her chest and realized it no longer hurt. There was once a time when every minute and every second burned with pain for one person, but now it is as calm as a stagnant pool of water. Those past memories related to Axel Fu, the beautiful dreams of unrequited love, vanished in an instant. More than a decade of deeply etched affection was stripped away completely. Miss Lin, I'm very sorry, but the business class for this flight is fully booked. There was a system error with your reservation. The flight attendant's voice brought her back to reality. I'm sorry, we'll process a refund for you and rebook you on another flight for free. Is that okay? She nodded mechanically, then turned and walked away, dragging her carry-on suitcase. Behind her, 2 flight attendants whispered, "That must be the eldest daughter of the Lin family, right? I heard she chased the Fu Corporation's CEO for 3 whole years. Even willing to throw in her family's fortune just to force a marriage. It was practically a forced wedding. Sure, didn't you know, the Lin family's young lady has always been quite arrogant." She continued walking, and indeed, the familiar stinging pain in her heart no longer came. Even topics that would have made her flee in the past now sounded like stories about strangers. The rescheduled flight would take off in 7 hours. After arriving in Paris, she saw the domestic news. The flight she had rescheduled from had actually crashed into the sea. Vera Lynn's heart skipped a beat. She suddenly felt that the twists and turns of fate in this world never cease. But this way, it would be just as well. Axel Fu would never be able to find her. She moved into a nursing home in the 16th arrondissement, and the doctors said her anemia was shockingly severe, as if something had drained all the life force out of her. She knew it was the result of 2 lifetimes and 20 years of unrequited love, which had exhausted her vitality to the point where even this illness felt like a river without a source. 3 months later, she enrolled at HC Paris. In class, the blonde, blue-eyed male classmates were full of curiosity about her. An Eastern girl, and several of them took turns asking her out. When the Italian teaching assistant placed a rose on her desk, amid the class's teasing, she only felt troubled. She rejected everyone's advances because she could no longer fall in love with anyone. Her life was so calm that it was utterly uneventful. Occasionally, she would take a walk along the Seine, watching couples kissing on the Pont des Arts. Once, while passing by a wedding dress shop, the mermaid-style skirt on the mannequin in the window made her stop inexplicably. As she turned around, Vera Lynn accidentally bumped into a pregnant woman. The way the woman's husband protectively held her suddenly made Vera's eyes well up. It was the first time since leaving her homeland that she felt the urge to cry. It dawned on her that a true partner would be anxious for her, unwilling to let her heart suffer even the slightest hurt, in both her past and present life. She had never experienced it. One rainy night, Vera Lynn returned from the hospital and hailed a taxi. The driver was Chinese and had a Chinese radio channel playing. Just as she was dozing off, she caught a familiar name, Fu Group CEO Axel Fu, whose wife was a passenger in the recent plane crash, has dispatched a world-class search and rescue team and personally traveled to the South China Sea. Her body jolted suddenly, seeing her curiosity. The driver kindly turned up the volume. It is reported that the LH-721 flight carrying Mr. Fu's wife crashed 2 weeks ago, and the black box has yet to be found. However, Mr. Fu has refused to accept the official search and rescue results. Insiders from the Fu family revealed that he has barely slept or rested these past 2 weeks, neglecting company affairs. A stark contrast to previous rumors of his disdain for his wife. The car's display screen switched to a news broadcast. Axel Fu stood on the deck of a search and rescue ship, the sea wind tousling his hair into disarray. He was so thin he was almost unrecognizable. With dark circles under his eyes and oil stains on his shirt cuffs, a reporter extended a microphone toward him. "Mr. Fu, you've been here all this time, even neglecting your massive company." The moment he looked into the camera, her breath caught. Those always calm and composed eyes were now bloodshot. Swirling with emotions she had never seen before, it was the despair of a long-standing collapse. "If I can't find Vera, I won't go back." Axel Fu's voice was hoarse beyond recognition. "I failed her. She is my wife, in this life, the next life, and the life after that. It will always be her." The moment the words "previous life" left her lips, her entire body froze. Through the screen, she locked eyes with Axel Fu in the video, in places she couldn't see. Axel Fu had actually been searching for her like a madman. He finally admitted his feelings, allowing them to grow wildly and uncontrollably. But it was too late. Her heart had become withered, would turn to ashes. No longer stirring even the slightest ripple for him. Chapter 13. Axel Fu had completely lost his mind. He mobilized all his resources, pouring an astronomical sum of money into hiring the world's top deep-sea search and rescue team, searching day and night in the crash area of the sea. He himself, like a walking corpse, stubbornly stayed on the frontline rescue ship. Axel Fu was paranoid. Believing that his Vera must be waiting for him somewhere, he repeatedly flipped through the diary left by Vera Lynn, where the tenderness, grievances, and despair he had overlooked now bled from every word. He remembered her massive hemorrhage during childbirth, the doctor's grave expression as he handed over a stack of documents for him to sign, and the critical condition notice issued to him. "The mother is experiencing massive hemorrhage, and the situation is not very optimistic. The family should be mentally prepared." At that moment, he felt no emotional turmoil, only recalling his own cold words. "Don't let her die," the doctor dutifully informed him. "Rest assured. We will do everything we can to save the mother." Actually, he just wanted Vera Lynn to survive at that time. He didn't care whether she ended up disabled or paralyzed. As long as her life was saved, that was enough. After all, she had climbed into bed through dirty tricks to take the position that should have belonged to El Chin. Dying so easily would have been too lenient for her. She deserved endless torment, living a lifetime of pain deliberately inflicted by him, to truly satisfy his anger. Even when the nurse came out holding the child, smiling and offering congratulations, saying, "Congratulations, it's a son. Dad, come over and hold the baby." Hearing this, he didn't feel any of the joy of becoming a father for the first time. Instead, he only felt inexplicable irritation and disgust. Frowning, he signaled to his assistant beside him to hold the baby, but the nurse wouldn't allow it. No, aside from the mother, the baby's first close contact should be with the father. Others shouldn't be in a hurry to hold the baby, so he reluctantly went to hold the child. But when he held the child in his arms and looked at that fair, chubby, and soft little face, his feelings became very complicated. Axel Fu remembered that because of his resentment and awkwardness toward Vera Lynn at that time, along with his occasional verbal and behavioral cold violence, It not only prevented her from having a proper postpartum recovery but also led to her developing postpartum depression. Once, due to a misleading photo taken by paparazzi, he ended up in a scandal with another woman that made headlines, yet he had no patience to explain, only sneering coldly, "Vera Lynn, do you think all women are like you, eager to climb into a man's bed, unexpectedly, because of this seemingly insignificant remark?" Vera Lynn attempted suicide by slitting her wrists that very night. The wound was deep, and blood stained the bathtub red. Fortunately, at that time, AU woke up from a nightmare and insisted on looking for her mother, so she promptly discovered the situation, called him, and sent him to the hospital. At the time, the cut on his wrist was so deep, yet he didn't even go to the hospital to check on her, just left it to the household staff to take care of her. He even felt that Vera Lynn, having become the enviable Mrs. Fu, didn't need to worry about anything at home. Even the children had dedicated caregivers, and all she had to do was spend time with the kids. With such a privileged life, how could she possibly suffer from postpartum depression? He thought it was just Vera Lynn's way of trying to get his attention. In his eyes, he felt that Vera Lynn was being overly dramatic at the time, lacking Elchine's understanding and grace. But when Elchine attempted suicide by cutting her wrist, even though it was just a minor scratch, he was extremely distressed and even arranged a VIP hospital room for her. He even went so far as to have someone beat up Vera Lynn to vent his anger for Elchine. She dragged her injured body to the hospital herself and saw him being intimate with Elchine at the entrance. She remembered how she had quietly taken care of his stomach problems for many years, day in and day out, never missing a single meal. Yet, for Elchine, he did not hesitate to drink strong alcohol, completely disregarding Vera Lynn's sincere past reminders. Even the slight discomfort in his stomach was less important than Elchine's insincere verbal concern. Axel Fu felt so heartbroken he could barely breathe. Every memory became a lingering death, cutting him to the bone. Chapter 14. Axel Fu began to suffer from sleepless nights, with the familiar sharp pain in his stomach tormenting him more intensely than ever. Without her medicinal meals and soothing words, the pain threatened to consume him entirely. He was suddenly overwhelmed by a regret so deep it felt like a dagger to the heart, treating Vera, who gave him her all, so harshly. He discarded her like a worn-out shoe, yet he regarded Elchine, a woman who only knows how to talk, as his precious pearl and bright moon. No wonder Vera was determined to leave him. Years of unwavering sincerity not only failed to warm his heart but instead brought her endless mental torment. Indeed, only when the heart is completely dead does love fade away. Even fate has to take back Vera, who loved him the most. Let him live a lifetime of endless regret and guilt. Let him grow old alone with regret. When the assistant rushed over, he was startled by the wine bottles scattered all over the floor and Axel Fu's haggard, unshaven appearance. He whispered, "Mr. Fu, the old master wants you to come back." Axel Fu was urgently summoned back to the old mansion by his grandfather. Old Master Fu, seeing his appearance, was so furious that he banged his cane loudly on the ground. His face filled with anger, he scolded loudly, "Look at the state you're in. All the employees in the company need to survive, and yet you, without a care, neglect your duties and leave all the responsibilities hanging. It's just the death of a woman. How could it be as important as the century-old foundation of the Fu Group?" Axel Fu's eyes were resolute, his voice firm and unwavering. "Important, Vera is more important than the Fu Group. If the Fu Group goes bankrupt, we can always rebuild it, but if I can't find Vera, I will have lost my wife forever." The old man trembled with anger, the wrinkles on his face quivering as he struck Axel's thigh with his cane. "You unfilial son, you are the heir of the Fu family, the pillar of the entire clan. What kind of woman couldn't you have? Why waste time and financial resources on someone who's already dead?" Axel Fu, however, remained unmoved and said coldly, "Grandfather, you just said I'm the heir of the Fu Group. How I use financial resources is, of course, my decision. You should just enjoy your retirement at the old mansion. You unfilial grandson." The old man was so angry he almost couldn't catch his breath. He took a few deep breaths to calm himself and only after a long while continued to persuade. "Mitch, since that's the case, Then find a suitable candidate for a marriage alliance to become the new Mrs. Fu. This will help suppress the recent turmoil and avoid further losses to the company. Hearing that he should marry someone else, Axel Fu's already tired and bloodshot eyes instantly turned so sinister it made people tremble. His voice was icy, his words a warning. Grandpa, you're not as spry as you used to be, it's better if you stay out of my affairs, otherwise. The feng shui abroad is quite nice. Perfect for retirement. Without bothering to look at the old man's livid expression, he turned and walked away, slamming the door with a deafening crash as if to vent his frustration. In a foul mood, Axel Fu had just returned home when he noticed the light was on in his son's room. Fu Yu, rubbing his sleepy eyes, ran out of the room and was terrified by his father's unprecedented state of distress, bursting into tears. "Dad, what's wrong? What happened? Where's Mom? I want Mom. I want Mom to stay with me." The child's cries sharply pierced the dead silence. Axel Fu looked up abruptly and saw his son's terrified little face. The features so reminiscent of Vera Lynn's were now like the sharpest knives, stabbing at his heart. He held his son tightly in his arms with all his strength, the force so great that it caused Fu Yu pain. "Mom, Dad lost her. I'm sorry, Yu, it's my fault that you lost your mother, that our family is no longer whole." Scalding tears streamed down, falling onto Fu Yu's hair, and the suppressed sobs made his voice even more choked. Fu Yu was stunned by his tears and words, his small body frozen, an unprecedented panic seizing him. Mom, really gone. The mom he had resented and hurt, would she never come back? Chapter 15. Was Mom really angry with him and had chosen to abandon him? He realized that what he truly loved wasn't Elchin, it was merely an obsession born from unrequited love in his youth, compounded by her disdain for poverty and her condescension, which fueled his desire to possess her. And all his kindness to Elchin was merely to make her understand that the poor young man she once looked down upon is now a powerful figure in the business world who can easily turn the tables. It was only to subconsciously prove to her that her perspective was too narrow. He simply wanted to erase the image of that insecure and impoverished young man from Elchin's memory. He still remembers those days when he was just an illegitimate child. Although the Fu family never publicly acknowledged his identity, they still provided him with a basic living allowance according to the minimum standard, at that time, due to his handsome appearance and excellent academic performance. He unexpectedly connected with Elchin during the school anniversary, becoming the couple everyone at school envied. It was thought they would walk hand in hand all the way. But just as they were about to graduate from university, Elchin took the initiative to break up. She smiled gently, but her tone was full of sarcasm. "Axel Fu, I've had enough of playing emotional games, and I'm tired of it. Let's part on good terms. The life I want, you can't provide. And I don't want to waste any more time on you. Here's $1,000. Consider it emotional compensation for these 3 years of feelings." Elchin forced the money into his arms, then turned and walked away, swinging her Porsche car keys. Later, he met Vera Lynn and was drawn to her exceptional abilities, taking her under his wing. But at a dinner party, someone trying to curry favor with him drugged a woman in an attempt to force her upon him. Yet by a twist of fate, Vera Lynn intercepted the situation. As a result, he harbored resentment towards Vera Lynn. It is undeniable that he later became a rising star in the business world with Vera Lynn's help, thriving and prospering. Even the Fu family had to formally acknowledge his existence and declare him as the Fu family heir. The next day, Elchin brought him a homemade lunchbox and, seeing his haggard appearance, looked at him with heartfelt concern. "Brother Axel, you shouldn't torment yourself like this. You need to take good care of yourself. After all, both the Fu family and the Fu group rely on you to hold things together. Moreover, seeing you like this really pains my heart." Axel Fu glanced at her indifferently and, without accepting her lunchbox, went straight to the point. "If you have something to say, say it. If not, please leave. Vera doesn't like you coming to our home." Elchin's smile instantly stiffened, her hands on her lap quietly clenching her skirt as she forced an awkward laugh. "Brother Axel, Grandpa sent someone to find me. We had a heart-to-heart talk at the old house. Grandpa said he's very satisfied with me. I know it might be hard for you to accept right now, Brother Axel, but it's okay. I'm willing to wait for you. but with bloodshot eyes, he swept the cup off the table and glared at her, growling in a low, furious voice, "Get out, I don't want to see you, my wife is only Vera Lynn. Don't even think about anyone else." Chin's expression froze completely. She couldn't believe it. The man who had promised to pluck the stars and embrace the moon for her just days ago had suddenly changed his attitude toward her. He clearly said he wanted to make up for the regrets between them, to fill in all the years she hadn't been by her side. Didn't he not love Vera Lynn? Chapter 16. Didn't he tell her that he married Vera Lynn back then only because she was pregnant before marriage, and he was forced into it due to public pressure? Why refuse her now because of Vera Lynn's disappearance? Why reject old Master Fu's proposal to let him remarry a new Mrs. Fu? And why waste the financial resources of the Fu group on something as meaningless as searching for Vera Lynn? No, since Vera Lynn is already missing. This is a hard-won opportunity. She cannot allow Axel Fu to continue to sink into despair. She must seize this chance to become the rightful Mrs. Fu. Tears welled up in her eyes instantly as she grabbed Axel Fu's arm, choking back sobs to plead with him. "Brother Axel, I'm sorry. I know mentioning Grandpa's intentions just now upset you, but he's so old. Shouldn't we, as the younger generation, avoid defying him over such a small matter? If I've done anything wrong, just tell me and I'll change. Please don't be angry, okay? Don't keep your thoughts and emotions bottled up inside. You can tell me anything, and I'll share the burden with you. Brother Axel, I know you're feeling really unwell right now. And seeing you like this, I'm truly worried about your health. Let me take care of you for this period. Okay, please don't push me away. I really just want to be by your side." But Axel Fu remained unmoved, glanced at her indifferently, and pushed her hand away. "Chin, your tears are truly worthless. Your talent for this is even more impressive than that of an actor. What schemes you have in mind? You know perfectly well. Let me make it clear to you. The position of Mrs. Fu is something you can never aspire to. The mistress of this house can only be Vera Lynn. Someone, see the guest out. From now on, she is not allowed to set foot in this villa." The bodyguards outside the door responded and entered, lifting Chin by both arms, forcibly dragging her out. "No, let go of me, Brother Axel. Why are you treating me like this? What have I not done well enough? We clearly have mutual feelings for each other, so why can't we be together for life?" Brother Axel, Chin was still trying to awaken Axel Fu's compassion for her. The piercing cries finally fell silent. Axel Fu scanned the vast, lifeless villa, walked to the wine cabinet, picked up a bottle, and began to gulp it down. Empty bottles lay scattered across the floor, one after another. His face flushed red, he leaned against the wine cabinet, his senses numbed by the alcohol. He suddenly let out a foolish laugh at the air, tears unconsciously streaming down his face, and muttered to himself, "Vera, look how much I've drunk. Why aren't you scolding me anymore? Usually, whenever you see me drinking, you'd put on that adorable stern face to lecture me, telling me not to wreck my stomach. How can you just stop caring about me, if you don't keep an eye on me? What if I really end up destroying myself?" Suddenly, his expression turned grim. Yes. He remembered that back in the day, to establish a firm foothold in the Fu group and to achieve results that would earn the recognition of the Fu family and the patriarch, he always drank the most heavily at business dinners, coupled with irregular meals and sleep schedules. After one such dinner, he suddenly vomited blood and was rushed to the hospital by a terrified, tearful Vera Lynn. At the time, the doctor diagnosed him with a stomach hemorrhage and warned that if he didn't take proper care of his stomach, his risk of developing stomach cancer would greatly increase. Because of this, in addition to helping him handle company affairs, Vera Lynn also personally prepared 3 different meals a day for him, ensuring he ate on time and got enough rest. Even Fu Yu's homework was excellently tutored, placing his grades at the top of the class. She not only took meticulous and thoughtful care of their home but also filled it with warmth and a lively atmosphere. Every holiday was marked by different family activities and surprise celebrations. All he ever had to do was cooperate well. In his memory, Vera Lynn always showed her sunny side in front of him. Even when she was emotionally unstable due to postpartum depression, it was because he was involved in a scandal with someone else, and he never bothered to explain, only letting her digest those negative emotions and the unease he brought her on her own. The pain in his stomach made him instinctively press his hand against it, trying to ease the discomfort. Unfortunately, it was of no use and only grew more intense. He could only bend over slightly and began rummaging through the living room for medicine, only to find nothing. He still remembered the time when Vera Lynn organized the medicine box and gently reminded him, "Axel, your stomach medicine and some common household medications are all in this box. Don't forget." At that time, he didn't even bother to look up. "With you here, do I still need to worry about such a small matter?" He clearly remembered that at that moment, he caught a glimpse of a very happy smile on Vera Lynn's face. Actually, he didn't know why she was like that. He just couldn't be bothered to pay attention or remember such trivial matters, so he casually brushed it off with a remark. Waves of stomach pain and a burning sensation kept coming, and as his search proved fruitless, he grew somewhat irritable. Subconsciously, he tried calling her, only to find that the call wouldn't go through, so I could only lie down on the sofa, curling up, hoping to ease the discomfort in my stomach. Before I knew it, I drifted into a heavy, drowsy sleep. The next morning, the assistant arrived at the villa and, seeing the dimly lit room and the mixed smells, couldn't help but sigh softly. He pulled open the curtains, letting the sunlight pour in, gently woke Axel Fu, and quickly showed him the video he had pulled up on his phone. He couldn't hide the excitement in his tone. "President Fu, look." Axel Fu still had his eyes closed and did not respond. "You can't keep sinking into despair like this. I accidentally came across this video, but I'm not entirely sure. You're the one who knows Miss Lin best." When he heard the name Vera Lynn, Axel Fu suddenly opened his eyes. It was a viral video on a social media platform. #Paris Streets ran into a Farrah-like girl. Will delete if infringing. It reached over 100,000 likes within 2 hours of being posted. In the frame, a black Panamera is quietly parked by the roadside. The woman, clad in a camel-colored trench coat, has her long hair gently swaying in the wind, like a dark river flowing through the night. She slightly lowers her head, her dark hair falling to cover half of her face, yet when the dim, yellowish glow of the streetlight sweeps over, one can still catch a glimpse of her jade-like, radiant neckline, so pale it dazzles the eyes. That gentle, bowed posture is one Axel Fu has watched for 10 years. In a fleeting scene, a tall and handsome bodyguard walks over to open the car door, politely inviting the woman to get in. At the end of the video, the moment the woman turned her head and glanced sideways, Axel Fu recognized her at a glance, his gaze trembling abruptly. That was his Vera. Chapter 17. Axel Fu was both crying and laughing, trembling with excitement all over. His Vera is still alive. She was indeed lying to him. He always knew Vera was a blessed person and wouldn't let herself lose her life so easily. As long as Vera is alive, there's a chance to bring her back to his side. And their family won't fall apart. A sudden notification sound pulled Axel Fu, who was deeply immersed, back to reality. He clicked to look and was surprised to see a message from El Chin. "Brother Axel, I'm sorry. I know you've been feeling down lately, and it's okay however you treat me. I just hope you won't torment your own body anymore. Grandpa is getting older, so please don't upset him anymore. Just go along with him on small matters. When the elderly are happy, the family can be harmonious." "Right, Brother Axel. When you're feeling better, come home to see Grandpa. Sit down and talk things out with him properly. We're a family. So let's not let misunderstandings build up between us." Axel Fu frowned, his eyes filled with disgust. She was still dreaming of becoming Mrs. Fu. The moonlight he had yearned for in his youth shattered the moment he reached out to pluck it and saw its true face. She had never been the pure white moonlight in his heart. When the assistant told him that El Chin had repeatedly provoked Vera, it completely burned away the last of his rationality and lingering affection. It seems the position of Mrs. Fu was something she truly dreamed of. In that case, he would grant her wish. Just in time, he decided to give El Chin a big gift before going to find Vera. Axel Fu returned to the old house. The old man, who was reading the newspaper, glared at the newcomer, angrily threw the newspaper onto the table, and forcefully slammed his cane on the ground. "Why have you come back? To see if this old man has been angered to death by you." Axel Fu softened his tone and said indifferently, "Grandpa, I've thought through everything you said, and I agree to marry El Chin. The old man was taken aback for a moment and asked again, somewhat uncertainly, really? Axel Fu did not respond, remaining silent, in the old man's eyes. This was a tacit agreement to his answer. Brother Axel, is everything you said true? Elchine came over with a bowl of freshly washed fruit, her eyes lighting up as she happened to hear their conversation. Gazing at him in disbelief, Axel Fu hadn't expected Elchine to be at the old residence as well. Although he was filled with disgust, he didn't show it, merely nodding faintly, as you wish, grandfather. Elchine was overjoyed to tears and excitedly grabbed his arm. That's wonderful, Brother Axel. You've finally come around. I thought we had missed our chance, never imagining we would have the opportunity to spend the rest of our lives together. The old man nodded with great satisfaction and praised, truly a perfect match of talent and beauty, Axel. With a wise and virtuous hostess like Elchine to share your burdens, I believe the Fu group will continue to prosper. Axel Fu calmly withdrew his hand without even glancing at her, mechanically reporting to the elder, the wedding is scheduled in 3 days at Lanhai Pavilion. You should prepare well, grandfather. If you're interested, you're welcome to attend. Elchine didn't delve into the meaning behind his words, but responded with a gentle smile. Brother Axel, look at what you're saying. A major event like marriage, of course, requires the presence of family. The old man now found Axel Fu more agreeable and wore a smile on his face as he earnestly advised. Although the time is rushed, a major event like the Fu family's marriage alliance shouldn't be too casual, it still needs to be carried out with grandeur. Axel Fu said with a serious expression, Understood, Grandpa. I'll arrange it right away. With that, he turned and left without another word. On the day of the wedding, at Lanhai Pavilion, the invited elite socialites, business magnates, and political dignitaries all arrived as requested. Elchine was trying on her wedding dress backstage, looking at her reflection in the mirror. She wore a magnificent and intricately crafted strapless mermaid wedding dress that perfectly accentuated her curvaceous figure, making her eyes instantly sparkle. Wow, President Fu really knows how to pick a wedding dress. This gown is absolutely perfect for you, her best friend Xia Wei. Dressed in a bridesmaid gown, praised with shining eyes, Elchine raised her chin slightly with pride, her eyes filled with arrogance. That's because, after all, Axel knows me best. So he naturally knows what suits me the most. She circled around, looking her over, her tone full of unconcealable envy. TSK, just look at how great our President Fu's taste is. Not only does he know how to pick a wedding dress, but he also knows how to pick a wife. This look, this figure. Who knows how many people will be envious? Elchine smiled shyly, but her tone was brimming with unconcealable pride. Oh, stop teasing me. It's not as exaggerated as you say. I'm just average looking with an ordinary figure. Xia Wei chuckled and linked arms with her. My dear friend, don't be so modest. There are so many wealthy and noble ladies in this circle. Yet Mr. Fu fell for you, and you became Mrs. Fu. That's your charm. Elchine's eyes were full of pride and satisfaction as she admired herself in the mirror. Axel and I have missed too many years. It's only by heaven's mercy that fate has given us the chance to continue loving each other. At that moment, the voice of a bodyguard came from outside the door. Miss Tan, once you've changed, please come with us to the wedding venue. Xia Wei eagerly took her hand and pulled her out. Look how anxious our Mr. Fu is. Let's go right away. When Elchine saw the 4 bodyguards in black outside, she couldn't help but frown slightly, feeling a bit uneasy, and asked with confusion, Where is Axel? Why didn't he come? The bodyguard responded respectfully, avoiding the question. Mr. Fu only instructed us to ensure Miss Tan's safety. He didn't mention anything else. Xia Wei's eyes were filled with uncontrollable envy. President Fu is really thoughtful. I wonder when I'll find a man like President Fu. Congratulations, Miss Tan. Wishing you a happy marriage and a baby soon. Congratulations to the Tan family on gaining such a fine son-in-law, taking the family to the next level. Wishing the newlyweds a lifetime of love and a house full of children and grandchildren. Miss Tan, congratulations. From today on, we'll have to start calling you Mrs. Fu. The endless stream of compliments and congratulations from the guests greatly satisfied Elchine's vanity. She smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners, and nodded slightly in a polite acknowledgement of their well wishes. Xia Wei looked at the grand wedding scene, her eyes gleaming with an intense light, her tone full of envy. Qin, you're so fortunate. This is clearly a grand wedding meticulously prepared for you by President Fu, but why haven't I seen your wedding photos? Qin explained with a smile. Axel hasn't been in good condition recently, and the wedding was arranged in such a hurry that we didn't have time to take them. But Axel said that once he's had some time to rest and recover, he'll take me to have the wedding photos taken. Xia Wei didn't think much of it, only remarking with admiration, indeed. In front of the woman they love, men always pay great attention to their image. The host stepped onto the stage. Welcome, everyone, to the grand wedding ceremony that President Fu has meticulously prepared for Miss Qin. Today, Chairman Fu is unable to attend due to official business. Since President Fu is preparing a surprise for Miss Tan, let's begin the wedding proceedings first. The host beamed with joy as he began the wedding speech. Now, the father will escort his daughter to the stage. Such an unusual wedding process naturally piqued everyone's curiosity, but they dared not comment casually. Mr. Tan, holding Qin's hand, slowly walked toward the stage. Dad, do you know where Axel is? Qin felt a strange and inexplicable panic. Leaning in to ask quietly, Father Tan maintained a proper smile on his face. Don't worry, you'll see him in a moment. He wouldn't miss such an important occasion, Mr. Tan's words were like a soothing pill. Calming Qin's anxious heart, she couldn't suppress the corners of her mouth from curling up wildly, secretly rejoicing. However, after escorting her to her spot, Mr. Tan did not leave but continued to hold her hand. Her expression grew somewhat anxious as she scanned the wedding venue, trying to spot Axel Fu. Now, let's welcome today's groom. Before the words had even finished, the banquet hall doors swung open with a resounding crash. A torrential downpour, driven by a cold wind, swept inside, extinguishing the candles along the way. The guests' hushed whispers abruptly ceased, and everyone turned to look toward the entrance. 6 bodyguards slowly pushed a gilded wheelchair into the venue. The figure slumped in the wheelchair made Qin's blood run cold in an instant. Chapter 18. A 70-year-old man with white hair and a face full of wrinkles, drool trickling from the corner of his crooked mouth, stared intently at Qin with a gleam in his murky eyes. His withered, twig-like fingers trembled slightly, and the corner of a urine bag peeked out from under his suit. Let's welcome the groom, Mr. Fu Yuanhong. The host's voice turned into a sharp, buzzing hum in Qin's ears. Like a death warrant, she widened her eyes in shock. Fu Yuanhong was Axel Fu's crippled second uncle, who had been widowed 3 times. The guests were in an uproar. What's going on? Did the host make a mistake? How could the groom be him? Fu Yuanhong's eyes lit up with greed at the sight of Qin, and drool uncontrollably dripped from the corner of his mouth. He slurred his words in praise. You look so beautiful today. I'm not available right now, so I'll have to trouble you with the wedding chamber tonight. Qin's pupils contracted sharply, and she was suddenly shocked. Realizing what his words implied, she turned to flee, but was tightly grabbed by Father Tan's arm. Her voice instantly took on a tearful tone. Dad, what are you doing? Let go. I want to leave. I'm not getting married anymore. Mr. Tan smiled amiably, but his words made her feel as if she had fallen into an icy abyss. Your mission is to carry on the Tan family's glory. It's time for you to repay the family for raising you. Axel Fu, dressed in a suit, stepped forward and took the microphone. Welcome, everyone, to the wedding of Miss Qin and my second uncle, Mr. Fu Yuanhong. Suddenly, the crowd below erupted in an uproar. Unable to believe their ears. What is President Fu saying? Isn't this his wedding with Qin? How could Qin want to marry a stroke-paralyzed old man? Don't say that. Fu Yuanhong, the second master of the Fu family, has considerable financial resources under his name. Although he's no longer in good health, the important things still work just fine. It won't affect their life together. Yeah, haven't you heard the saying, a man remains a boy until he dies? And second Master Fu is certainly aging gracefully. The teasing voice reached Qin's ears, and her legs instantly went weak as she struggled to shake her head in refusal. No, I won't marry. I refuse to marry a dying old man. Axel Fu, you can't do this to me. No, you can't. The words about to die caused Fu Yuanhong, who had been captivated by Wen Yining's beautiful face and figure, to slowly darken his expression, a sinister and ruthless look gradually appearing in his eyes. He stared at El Qin with a menacing gaze, his eyes shamelessly roaming up and down her body. Axel Fu's smile remained unchanged. Marriage is a matter of parental orders and matchmakers' words. Miss Tan should understand this principle, especially for someone of your background. Marriage has never been a matter you could decide for yourself. Mr. Tan also chimed in with a smile, subtly increasing the pressure on her arm, his eyes issuing a warning. President Fu is right. The marriage between you and Second Master Fu has been agreed upon by both the Tan and Fu families, and all the wedding procedures have been completed. He patted El Qin's hand with a serious expression. For the future of the Tan family, you must make sure to serve Second Master Fu well after you marry him. This is a good outcome for everyone. Do you understand? El Qin knew she had been sold out, all to preserve the Tan family. She shook her head like a rattle. But she didn't want to resign herself to fate, crying out with pleading eyes, "Dad, I beg you, as long as it's not a dying old man, I'll marry whoever you want me to." "Okay, I will definitely listen to my family and be obedient. Please, can you find someone else for me? I really don't want to marry an old man who can't take care of himself. I'm begging you." "Dad." Father Tan wore a stern expression and spoke with a lecturing tone, his impatience clearly growing. "Since it's all the same, what's wrong with marrying Second Master Fu? This is your fate, just accept it." Chapter 19. El Qin cried hoarsely, desperately pleading, "Dad, it's different, at least others won't die young. I don't have to worry every day about when I'll become a widow. Please, beg Axel for me, will you, now? The newlyweds will exchange rings," Axel Fu urged, signaling to Mr. Tan and the bodyguard beside him. Mr. Tan took out the prepared ring from his pocket and forcibly placed it on El Qin's finger, perfectly matching the wedding ring on Fu Yuanhong's ring finger. El Qin struggled violently, trying to take off the ring. Slap, a crisp slapping sound echoed through the scene. It forced her to stop her actions abruptly. "Ungrateful daughter." Tan's father slapped El Qin's face to the side, the bright red handprint starkly visible on her pale cheek, quickly swelling and turning red. The force of the slap was so great that it broke the skin of her mouth, causing a trickle of blood to seep out. The loud ringing in her ears made her mind go blank for a moment. The searing pain made El Qin instinctively rush to Axel Fu's side. She grabbed Axel Fu's hand, tears streaming down her face, her voice trembling. "Axel, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I was jealous of your love for Vera Lynn, and I couldn't accept that I lost a promising, good man like you back then. Everything I did wrong was because I love you. I was wrong, Axel. I shouldn't have pressured Vera Lynn to divorce you, and I definitely shouldn't have helped her hide it from you, making you sign the divorce papers in secret. Please, save me, will you? I really don't want to marry an old man. I don't want to spend my best years living like a widow every day. That would be too painful." Axel Fu abruptly shook off her hand, causing her to stumble and fall to the ground. "El Qin, haven't you always wanted to become Mrs. Fu? Am I not fulfilling your wish? Besides, from now on, whenever I see you, I'll have to respectfully call you aunt. Such an honor is something other women can only dream of. You should be happy." El Qin shook her head frantically, tears smudging her delicate makeup. Disregarding her pride, she crawled on her hands and knees to Axel Fu's feet. "Axel, as long as you help me cancel this absurd marriage, the Tan family will be at your mercy. Please, let me go. I just loved you too much. That's why I was so determined to take Vera Lynn's place and become your Mrs. Fu. I swear. If you just help me this once, don't make me marry that dying old man. I promise I'll stay far away from you from now on, and I'll never covet the position of Mrs. Fu again." "Okay, Axel." Axel Fu pulled his foot away, his eyes filled with hatred and indifference, looking down at her condescendingly. "But because of your instigation, I've already lost my wife. This wedding is just a small interest I'm collecting for Vera." Hearing this, El Qin collapsed weakly to the ground, her eyes filled with despair. Axel Fu withdrew his gaze. "Let us congratulate the newlyweds on their union, bound in love and loyalty for a lifetime. Fu Yuanhong muttered some indistinct words. And Axel Fu shot him a glance. He said coldly, "It seems second uncle can't wait any longer. Tonight, the wedding chamber awaits." Although the audience felt shocked, thunderous applause still erupted, yet it was eerily quiet, and everyone couldn't help but exchange glances. They had once again witnessed Axel Fu's ruthlessness and heartlessness. "Look at Miss Tan. She's so emotional she can't even walk. Let's send them all back to Second Master Fu's home, everyone. Please continue eating and drinking, and don't let this spoil the mood." Axel Fu raised his hand to signal the bodyguards waiting nearby, who quickly stepped forward and pulled Elchin away upon hearing the command. "No, Brother Axel, please let me go. I'm sorry, I was wrong." Elchin's sharp cries grew fainter and fainter. At that moment, someone by old Master Fu's side suddenly rushed over to inform him, "President Fu, it's bad. Due to a critical data leak caused by Elchin's negligence when she was the secretary, a rival company implanted a Trojan virus, and the company's funding chain has been cut off. If we don't secure funding in time, the company will be on the verge of bankruptcy. President Fu, the chairman has fainted from the stress. Please hurry back. You need to make a decision about this matter." The other party was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, but Axel Fu seemed not to hear. Axel Fu picked up a tissue, meticulously wiping his fingers clean, unable to hide the excitement in his tone. "Did you get it all recorded?" The assistant nodded. "Mr. Fu, we've recorded all of Miss Tan's retribution." Axel Fu lowered his eyes with satisfaction. "Good. Arrange a private jet to Paris for me." He could not afford to think about anything else. Only one stubborn thought remained in his mind. He would go find Vera, carrying all his regrets and belated love. Chapter 20. Vera Lynn never imagined that in her lifetime, she would encounter Axel Fu again here. In the past, she had loved Axel Fu to the point of madness. Gazing at him as if beholding a crane in the snow, he had never spared even a glance for her. Now, however, he was in a sorry state. Standing haggardly on the street, searching everywhere for her, the moment their eyes finally met, Axel Fu's gaze was filled with indescribable shock and joy. "Vera, I've been searching for you so desperately." Those eyes, once filled with indifference, were now turbid and desperate, like a beast abandoned in the wilderness, locking onto her intently, as if she were the only lifebuoy before drowning. Axel Fu's Adam's apple bobbed violently a few times before he managed to speak. "Vera," he wanted to reach out and hold her. But Vera Lynn took a step back, leaving him stunned. She found him repulsive. Axel Fu's trembling hands pulled out a carefully folded piece of paper from the inner pocket of his suit. He clumsily unfolded it and held it out to her. It was a childlike crayon drawing. In the drawing, 3 small figures in floral dresses stood beneath a huge rainbow, holding hands affectionately, with 2 words scrawled beside them, "Me and Mom and Dad." It was drawn by Xiaoyu. His voice broke. "He waits for you every day, misses you, and so do I." But Vera Lynn laughed mockingly. She pointed at the woman in the floral dress in the painting. "I never wear floral dresses. The person in this painting is Elchin." Axel Fu froze. He had never paid attention to Xiaoyu's paintings. This painting was also something he had accidentally found on his desk. "You 3 are the real family. Now that I'm leaving, shouldn't you and your son be happy?" Axel Fu was in a state of panic. "Vera, it's not like that. It wasn't until you left that I realized I can't live without you. Every month, every night, every second has been torture. Forgive me, all this time. I've been running away from my true feelings. The truth is, the one I've always loved is you, and only you." He paused, his voice choked with emotion. "And Xiaoyu only has you as his mother." Vera Lynn lifted her gaze, her eyes piercing through Axel Fu's current disheveled state and plea. He reached out his hand eagerly. "Vera, come home with me." Okay, he would never know about her experience of being reborn, not a few nights, not a few months, but a full 17 years. 29,200 lonely nights, every night. The coldness between the father and son was like an ice-quenched blade, freezing her hopes and cracking her heart. Home. Her voice was soft, yet it carried the weight of 1,000 pounds, crashing down on Axel Fu's heart. "Axel Fu, tell me, which home should I return to? The home where you abandoned me alone for Elchin, or the home where you had me beaten in the abandoned factory?" Leaving me covered in blood and unable to get up, she leaned forward slightly, a flicker of emotion finally stirring in her eyes. A profound, inescapable sorrow, 17 years, 29,200 nights, every night, I told myself, maybe tomorrow he'll come back. Tomorrow he'll finally see me, but everything you did, cut by cut, scraped away every last bit of warmth from my heart. Vera Lynn's gaze was calm, without a single ripple. The bond between us ended long ago. No, Vera, Axel Fu lunged forward, trying to grasp her hand. I know I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I searched every corner of Nanhai just to find you. Now, I've sold my shares in the Fu Corporation. I want nothing else, only to be with you properly. A wave of immense panic seized him, making him speak incoherently. Tears finally spilled uncontrollably, falling onto the vibrant rainbow on the drawing paper, leaving a damp, smudged mark. Give me one more chance, the last one. I'll repay you with my life. Just then, a tall and slender figure approached. It was a handsome man with blonde hair and blue eyes. Lynn, a deep male voice inquired, as he firmly held Vera Lynn's hand. Is this man bothering you? Do you need help? Vera Lynn looked up at the newcomer, her new boyfriend. And a faint trace of warmth finally flickered in her eyes. Without any hesitation, she returned his grasp. It's all right, Alex. She turned to Axel Fu, who stood frozen in place, and said, Mr. Fu, please leave. There is nothing left to say between us. She didn't even glance back at the painting stained with tears. Allowing Alex to lead her away as they disappeared into the flowing lights and shadows along the riverbank, Axel Fu's outstretched hand hung motionless in the air, futilely grasping at the cold, empty space. Watching Vera Lynn's resolute retreating figure, he slumped onto the cold stone bench like a clay sculpture stripped of all its bones, utterly defeated. Only now did he finally understand a truth that Vera had taught him, what it means to have all hope dashed, and to lose what is lost forever. A few months later, at the cafe, Vera Lynn sat by the window, holding a cup of hot coffee in her hands. An expired French newspaper was taken away by the waiter. In the corner of the international finance section, a small block the size of a tofu cube inconspicuously printed, Hong Kong Island's Fu Group officially applies for bankruptcy liquidation. In the crevice of another page's social news, an even smaller brief, Hong Kong tycoon Mr. Fu admitted to hospital with advanced gastric cancer. His son, left without care, has been taken in by social welfare agencies. When Vera Lynn inadvertently saw these, she was slightly dazed. Axel Fu's tears, Xiao Yu's cries, the piercing wail of the heart monitor from her past life. Countless scenes surged and clamored, yet in the end, they felt as if separated by a thick pane of frosted glass, unable to stir even the slightest ripple. So it turns out, it could truly be as fleeting as a breeze passing by the ear. The love and hatred she once believed were etched into her bones, enough to destroy her entire life, had ultimately turned into a light, withered leaf, falling silently. She picked up her coffee and took a small, gentle sip. Outside the window, the sun is shining brightly, and the Seine River still glistens as it flows quietly.